Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are still 2 weeks out from WWE Wrestlepalooza, the company's debut premium live event on ESPN, but we have an absolute ton to discuss on this episode of the show, and we're not wasting any time getting into it because Silver King and Vintage Chris Vanini, we are both in the thick of it with football season starting right here in these United States. So off the top, allow the Silver King to remind you that here at Getting Over,
it's all about the five.
Seriously, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Please remember to head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. We have 520 of these reviews, which again just pales in comparison to the number of people listening to this show. So even if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, if you have an iPhone or an Apple ID, log on, leave that 5-star written review. We will read it right here on the program. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. You can find us on Twitter and Blue Sky, where you can get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, and all of that good stuff. You can also send in questions and comments for the show. We will do our best to read on the air, and you can subscribe to us over on YouTube for full-length audio episodes and full-length video interviews. We have a few more irons in the fire when it comes to interviews here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast before 2025 is out, and you are not going to want to miss any of those. We are also posting a bunch of video clips from past interviews, about to put up a ton from the Drew McIntyre conversation around WrestleMania. So again, across social media, you can find us at Getting Overcast. Vintage, we are now 2 weeks into the college football season, 1 week into the NFL season, and I am not sure that personally I've ever been lower. My Florida Gators on Saturday looked pathetic, and then my Miami Dolphins on Sunday, dare I say, looked even more pathetic. So while from a work standpoint, I will be immensely engaged in football, personally, this has been as rough of a beginning to a season as I think I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Yeah, that's pretty tough for both of you. I was in Norman, Oklahoma, Saturday night at the Oklahoma-Michigan game. Got back at 4 a.m. 2 weeks of football. I've gotten home at 4 a.m. because I've had to drive 2 hours home. So it's laying its toll. The Detroit Lions, my Lions, don't look great, but I appreciated that one time they were good.
I almost want to say it was even worse, because they have so much more talent and a really strong head coach. But man, losing 2 coordinators like that, I didn't think I know Ben Johnson is good. I didn't think he was that good, where they could just fall apart like that against the Green Bay Packers. So yeah, we did not have a good professional football week 1. Let's just put it that way.
No.
Now, what we did have was a good week in WWE television, really across the board from Raw to SmackDown, and certainly we'll get into the specifics coming up in a bit. But we have the main event, a loaded main event coming up for you, and you know what the focus of that is going to be. The good, the bad, and the ugly, that is still set for the show as well.
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
And look, I'm just going to be candid with you all. I was going to spend a significant amount of time talking about a couple news items involving Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella this week. Ironically, the main eventers of the first ever WWE Evolution. Instead of bloviating about them, let me just point out that you can go find specifically what Rousey said last week about WWE, specifically regarding her booking with Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch, and what Nikki said about Wade Barrett, who made a legitimate and accurate yet in-character comment about how the women's division has developed since Nikki, initially retired from WWE. So this is what I will say on the back end. Regarding Rousey, I cannot remember someone in her position with such an outsized opinion of herself. While she is a legitimate trailblazer in women's combat sports, she was also someone that WWE and the talent in the locker room, they put up with her, even if it was framed as her being embraced at the time. She never truly understood the give and take that is necessary to be successful in professional wrestling, nor why she was booked in certain ways. And many of the seemingly accurate criticisms that we launched at the time of how WWE positioned Ronda and did not position Ronda were actually how Ronda demanded to be positioned. So I don't want to spend that much time on her. I'm going to stop there. But I just want to mention that off the top. As far as Nikki is concerned, look, WWE has bent over backwards since her return to paint her as a trailblazer that, frankly, she absolutely is not. Full stop. Now, look, the Bella Twins, they brought eyes and attention to WWE and the Divas division at the time. There's no question that Total Divas and Total Bellas and the stuff they did on WWE TV was valuable. One of the reasons Give Divas a Chance became a thing is because of their star power. It helped fuel it. But they had little to do with improving the actual wrestling and quality of storytelling in the division. Their characters were one note, and while Nikki did work hard to improve bell to bell when she returned after she and Brie both left, and I'm sure Brie tried as well, Nikki did up her game, just not to the level of many of the other women in the company. Now, I point this out because the big item of the week that, of course, we're going to cover in detail in the main event is the return of AJ Lee to WWE. AJ Lee is the actual trailblazer that WWE claims and Nikki purports herself to be. AJ, Beth Phoenix, Natalya, Caitlyn, later Paige, they were the ones who literally stood 10 toes down and worked hard to not only improve the division, but change how fans viewed women's wrestling. They are the reason that WWE was primed for the Four Horsewomen. And the transition between those two eras is what led to the Divas becoming women like they always had been. And that's why seeing AJ in WWE now is so sweet, because this is the women's division she always dreamed would exist in the company. It's the women's division she fought for, not just in terms of talent and ring time, but the culture. Nikki helped the women gain attention. She fought for time. There's no doubt about that. AJ delivered the type of in-ring work and character work that got the crowd invested and proved the women do indeed deserve it. I guess I wound up bloviating anyway, but the way Nikki talked about Wade this week, it really sent me. It was completely unfair to him. I hated it. And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time here off the top of the show discussing this. So, Chris, I don't know if you had anything to add, but I wanted to lay that out there when it came to, really the way this women's division did develop and move forward over the last 15-ish years.
I would just say, I don't care much about this because this is how WWE treats every woman, from that weird era. We just put Michelle McCool in the Hall of Fame. I think Tori Wilson went in the Hall of Fame a year or two ago. They're all trailblazers. They are all the actual women who brought things forward because the division was in bad shape. But we never say who was involved with the division we never put the blame on anybody. We just put the blame on general WWE.
Creative and Vince McMahon. Right.
But all the individual wrestlers, they're the ones who, brought it. It's just WWE rewriting its history, and as it always does. And that's fine. To me, Nikki was the transition, which was an important position. She wasn't just the fitness person who couldn't wrestle and was there and then was gone.
Right.
She did develop into a solid enough wrestler. She brought it forward. Then other people came in and elevated it more. It's fine. It's there was that period when on WWE commentary with Paige, they would always say, some people say Paige started the women's revolution. It's just every time they talked about Paige, they would say that. This whole thing, who deserves credit for this or that. I mean, I understand people wanting various credits for whatever, but it ultimately doesn't matter. Nikki Bella is already in the Hall of Fame. She's solid. She's had an incredible career. It's fine.
The point more so is not what WWE says. It was Nikki going out of her way to criticize Wade Barrett, who said nothing wrong, on her podcast because she misunderstood the intent, or maybe she heard secondhand what he said and not word for word what he said. He said that the women's division, since Nikki, and Nikki helped bring it up, has gone to another level, and now Nikki is attempting to meet them. And that is factual. And he was also in a heel commentary role, but it was also factual. And she made it seem like he denigrated her and disrespected her history with WWE to the point that like they had to publicly say on social media, on Twitter, that we spoke and yes, we're cool and like all this shit. But it was all started by Nikki going on her podcast and talking about it. That's why I took issue with it, not because of the way WWE frames things. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, no, I know. But I mean, you know, everybody's using everything to kind of promote their own stuff too. Again, we're in this unreal era where I'm going to wonder if every single thing I see on my screen is a work, whether it's in the company or out. Mm-hmm. But Nikki also made the point. She said, and that's why Cole, like, I didn't watch the pre-show, but it sounded like somebody like Cole then, like at some point on the show, like kind of pushed back on that idea, which is the point.
That was the WWEization of the past. What Wade said was accurate, is what I'm trying to say.
But I'm just saying, Nikki being upset, but like the other side of that was said too, which was the whole point of having
the
people
point
on
is, she didn't need to
this.
take this thing. She made an assumption about intent and then made an assumption about him not speaking to her backstage, like as if he had a problem with her, when he was probably just walking by, like thinking about something he needed to say or needed to do or whatever the case. And she took it to this extreme where like all of a sudden he's painted as the bad guy on her podcast when he literally did not do anything wrong and all she was doing was making assumptions. So when you then extrapolate that and look at it from the bigger picture of like, does Nikki even have a leg to stand on with the comment that she made? She didn't. And that was my purpose for bringing it up. And
that's fine. I was going
to play the clip.
Here's my thing. You know, I don't care. I do not care about this, like, really at all. Like, there's like so much more important wrestling stuff to talk about. What Nikki Bella says on her podcast. Now, if you want to talk about the things that were then said about Wade because he's now being off TV and people think,
we're getting to that next. We're covering that next.
That's totally fine. That's where it becomes something of like, all right, now we're saying things that we shouldn't be saying. But yeah.
Well, you know what, Chris? You may not care.
You don't give a damn. And my problem.
Let me do that different. Well, you know what, Chris?
You don't give a damn. And my problem is I care too much.
You know what? We have drops for pretty much every situation here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. So speaking of Barrett on commentary, Joe Tessitore took the play-by-play chair on Monday Night Raw this week, as Getting Over reported that he would. And we'll tell you how you can get information similar to that in the future momentarily. There were seriously erroneous reports out there about changes to WWE commentary, with the only shred of truth being that Barrett is taking a couple weeks off after absolutely grinding on this job over the last couple of years. Not just his weekly TV duties, but premium live events, pre-shows, all the stuff that he does, post-shows as well. As we first reported on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover 2 weeks ago, Michael Cole and Corey Graves shifted to SmackDown, just like they did last football season, with Tess and Wade set to take over Raw. The combination of college football in week 1 and WWE being in Europe, by the way, it delayed Tess working Raw, and Wade's vacation is why Corey Graves was sitting alongside Tess on Monday. Speaking of that, Tess and Graves were awesome together during Raw, and I loved how Joe put over Corey as the man who does everything for WWE, which is completely true. It's been great to see Graves get his flowers over the last 4 months or so, and I am so glad that he's back fully integrated into main roster commentary. We have our thoughts about the good and bad of Pat McAfee, but the fact of the matter is this. The foursome of Michael Cole, Tess, Graves, and Barrett in any combination, Cole and Graves, Cole and Barrett, Tess and Graves, Tess and Barrett, they are probably second only to the foursome of Cole, Taz, Jim Ross, and Jerry the King Lawler. That was a mighty different time. I could make legitimate arguments that this foursome on commentary is the best in WWE history right now. So Barrett taking a little time off. Michael Cole was never going to call Raw this past Monday. Getting Over had all of this information for you. And these 4 dudes are pretty much kicking major ass right now. That's what I needed to say. Chris, your thoughts?
I agree on all of that. And like you said, Tess being on Netflix and everything, it all makes sense. It's fine. No one's changing anything. Mix and match these guys. It's fine. Again, it's not like a McAfee thing anymore where it's like, well, he's good with Cole, but maybe in other spots or this or that. Like these 4 guys, you put them in any mix or match, as long as they're doing it and it's just the 2 of them, it's good. I've not had an issue really with commentary in a long time. I mean, there might be
Friday night
here and there.
You didn't have an issue Friday night?
Like in what way?
Well, we'll get to it later.
No, I mean, I would like. I mean, there will be specific calls and certain things, but like on the whole, it's not like I'm thinking this is a problem. They need to fix this. Like we went through so often with Kevin Patrick or Adnan Virk, or this or that. Like, it's fine. It's good. It's good. It's in a good spot.
The second play-by-play chair for a long time was a disaster for WWE, and Tessitore has shored that up in a serious way. But like I said, these 4 guys are killing it right now. And I really hope this is like a fingers crossed thing I'm going to say right now. I hope WWE has been re-enlightened to how important Graves is for weekly commentary on television, because pulling him for McAfee, and I know he spoke about it on social media and then I think deleted the tweet and then got like somewhat ostracized or pushed, back from other roles that he would normally have filled in for that Barrett, took instead for a period of time. You want to call it an in-house suspension. I don't know the specifics. But he has proven since coming back, since doing NXT first and now coming back to main roster commentary, that he is a linchpin for this team. And even if they bring McAfee back after football season, which seems like it's going to happen because they have not, distanced themselves, even if that happens, that should be a 3-man team with Graves. Corey should not leave main roster commentary at any point going forward.
I mean, McAfee, he admitted he got too tired. He was doing too much stuff, which is fair. I generally liked him and Cole. The second go around wasn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes back, fine. But like, I have no desire to see him come back now. Like Graves is great. Wade is great. They're a good set. Don't mess it up.
I'd honestly be happy if they only used Pat for PLEs and he was like the pre-show hype man. And then you want him to join commentary. Okay. Like that's okay. It's the ESPN crossover, and the casual crossover as well. You don't need him on weekly television.
You're on ESPN now.
Right.
Like you don't, they do highlights of pay-per-views on SportsCenter. I've seen it.
Yeah.
So,
Monday Night Raw, by the way, will indeed be starting at 7 p.m. Eastern for at least the next 3 weeks. Now, WWE is doing this, just so everyone knows, to combat Monday Night Football, which will have early starts and doubleheaders coming up. It's a really smart test, I think, for WWE, just given the way Netflix allows you to watch the show. But we won't exactly have any numbers to show whether it works or not coming out of it. They will internally. We publicly will not. Speaking of that 7 p.m. time, that is when WWE Wrestlepalooza will begin streaming on ESPN in 2 weeks. Not necessarily abnormal. WWE has started shows at 6, 7, and 8 recently, but it's notable because it is going to now go head-to-head with their college football games on ABC and ESPN. As I've said before, WWE counter-programmed my life with this show, and it is now happening at the same time as the Florida-Miami game. Though, look, if I'm being frank, I'm not sure I'm going to be going to that game anymore after what happened to the Gators against South Florida. I'll also be traveling the next morning. So the turnaround for a night football game an hour from me and then coming home after that, it would be super late. I'd be exhausted going into an NFL Sunday. So yeah, not ideal for me personally, but just so everyone knows, Raw, 7 p.m. through September, and then WrestlePalooza, 7 p.m. in 2 weeks.
That's going to be interesting because it's 6 o'clock for me on my time. And I've enjoyed the show ending a little bit earlier with the 2.5 hour show. So that'll be interesting. One other thing I wanted to say kind of around commentary and drama and Nikki Bella, Wade Barrett, whatever. This is where if WWE worked like a normal professional sports organization, it would have statements on these issues. Instead, they let all the drama fester on the internet, on dirt sheets and whatever. Like if WWE had just said publicly, just release a statement, Wade Barrett is not suspended. He's on a vacation. We love him. He's great. Like, that would squash so much of this, but they still act like an old wrestling organization.
They don't even need, sorry to interrupt you, they don't even need to release a statement. They just need to answer reporters when they contact them.
Well, that's what I mean.
I messaged WWE. I was like, hey, can you guys confirm that like everything with Wade is good and he's going to be back? Can you give me a date when he's coming back? I didn't get I'm just being candid. I'm going to break the fourth wall. I didn't get an answer from them. So I had to contact some sources and find out the real information. That way I could report it for everyone. That shouldn't be how it is. You should just be able to tell me or any other, doesn't have to be us, any other journalist who contacts WWE.
Yes.
They should be able to say, Wade will be back on the, I don't have an exact date, the September 22nd Raw. He'll be back in the chair. Don't worry about it.
And it should be on the record. It should be a WWE spokesperson.
Of course.
Said that. Like, again, that's where acting like a professional organization now that you are this global behemoth thing. I know like part of it is like you lean into the drama of it all, and they like that stuff. They like that internet drama because it's supposed to pull up attention. But like if you're Wade Barrett, you would think you'd kind of want to be like, hey guys, can you let people know I'm not suspended? Like, that's what you should normally do, but they're still acting like a wrestling company, which I get, but that leads to stuff like this.
The truth is that he should not have had to go on Twitter and say, hey, everyone, I'm just taking a vacation. Like, leave me alone. Everything's going to be okay. And we shouldn't have had to cite anonymous sources, close to the situation that we knew Joe Tessitore was going to be in the main chair on Monday night. I mean, it shouldn't have gotten that far. It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
So
yes.
It's super, super frustrating for you and I, especially because of the other people we deal with in other organizations. And look, this isn't crapping on WWE PR. There's a lot of good people who work there. They help us out. They help us get interviews.
I'm sure it's not their decision.
It's not. It's mandated from above. That's
I'm saying,
exactly right.
In my job every day, I'm reaching out to people. Hey, can you confirm if this happened? Or hey, someone got arrested. Your player got arrested. Do you have a comment? Like, constantly in the job, and us and Fightful and everybody, they reach out to WWE all the time to try to confirm rumors, and WWE almost by company order just doesn't respond to this stuff, and it creates the drama that they probably like, but also think it makes certain people look bad in a situation they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to clarify. We're not crapping on WWE PR, the people who have those jobs. They're good people. They work hard. They have helped us, significantly in the past. In the present, a little bit more difficult than it has been because of some changes in the company. But they're good people and they're doing their best. But it is WWE corporately and TKO corporately, really, especially now because some of the policies have changed a little bit. That has been a bit frustrating to deal with. But let's move on. That's a little bit inside baseball. We don't need to continue doing that. In terms of television this week, Chris, SmackDown was better than it had been in the recent past, but I do need to clarify that it was completely carried by the main event of the show, which featured 4 Raw superstars and storytelling from the Monday Night brand. It only happened due to the timing and SmackDown being in Chicago. So I barely count that as progress for Friday nights, which continue to pale in comparison from a creative standpoint to what we're getting on Monday nights with Raw. Speaking of Raw, I thought it was stellar for the second straight week. I also wanted to shout out the Milwaukee crowd. We spend a lot of time here praising great loud crowds and shitting on poor ones, but Milwaukee was perhaps a perfect crowd in that they were loud in the right spots, quiet in the right spots, they had unique chants, and most important, they were engaged throughout the entire broadcast. That is the number one trait that makes a great crowd: ability to maintain attention and stay engaged. So even coming off of what we got across 3 nights in Paris, Milwaukee, kudos, you crushed it on Monday night.
It was a good crowd, good show. I don't want to have any other more thoughts on that. I wasn't. Now that we're in football season, there's so much stuff going on that I'm not always listening beat by beat on the crowd, but I thought they were great, and well-deserved praise from you.
Absolutely. So we have a ton to talk about in the world of WWE coming up right now, but I would be remiss if I did not remind you that here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
And I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Over head. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. And I wanted to shout out our newest subscriber who's been patiently waiting, I want to say 1 to 2 weeks for us to mention him on the show. Travis signed up as a monthly member. We greatly appreciate that, Travis. You didn't leave us a message, so I don't have anything else to read on the show, but nevertheless, we acknowledge you.
Acknowledge. Big acknowledgement right there.
Acknowledge.
All right, 25 minutes into the show, and we still have yet to talk about anything that's happened on WWE TV. Let's go ahead and change that, kicking it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
So Nick Aldis found Becky Lynch backstage after she entered the arena earlier on SmackDown, saying he wasn't aware she would be there. She had a great line, "I know, I invited me." She's crushing it right now. Knowing they were in Chicago with CM Punk in the building, he ultimately wasn't surprised, but asked her to promise not to cause any issues. Seth Rollins then entered and stood in the crowd with about 15 minutes left in the show, saying he would kill the legend of Punk once and for all. Lynch entered the ring with Rollins cheering her on, as Becky called the fans rude for chanting someone else's name. She was getting major heat anyway, but then, of course, she went full...
Well, they're really bad guys now because they cut down the city sports team. That's what you do when you're a bad guy.
Not that she was wrong. Punk's music hit, and after an extended entrance and chant, he said it wasn't about Becky, but Seth. Lynch cut him off, saying he should be embarrassed, but Punk reiterated that Rollins is a coward hiding from him. Punk gave Lynch the chance, I suppose, to leave, saying the beef had nothing to do with her. Fans loudly chanted AJ Lee for a second time, but when Lynch told them to shut up, Punk cut her off, saying the fans can chant AJ Lee all they want, and if it bothers her, she shouldn't have stuck her nose in his business. Punk said Chicago is his town, and he could have any number of people jump the barricade and take her out, including his sisters, who they showed ringside, Bayley, Rhea Ripley. So Lynch stopped him by smacking the shit out of Punk another dozen times. Antagonized, Punk left the ring as Lynch called him an embarrassment to Chicago. He said this was the exact situation he wanted to avoid. And I'll let CM Punk take it the rest of the way.
I would never put my hands on a lady. Thankfully, I got somebody who will.
Okay. More
Whoa,
serious.
what?
What? What didn't you get?
Why'd you play that?
Think about whose music that is.
Stone Cold Steve Austin's music.
And what did Punk say leading into that?
Oh, all right. Caught off guard by that.
Here's the real clip.
I would never put my hands on a lady. Thankfully, I got somebody who will.
Of course, it was not Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was AJ Lee, who did indeed return to WWE for the first time in more than 3,800 days, 10 years, 5 months, absolutely shredded, by the way, insane pop. Lynch and Rollins sold it incredibly well, completely stunned, almost goofball-like. After skipping down the ramp and around the ring, AJ stalked Bex, sat on the ropes while getting holy shit chants, which was classic. AJ speared Becky, hit a Thez press before smacking her hard straight across the face. Punk then stood over Lynch, daring Rollins to hop the barricade before AJ jumped in his arms to celebrate. They were so happy in the middle of the ring. Lynch and Rollins were seething on the ramp as the show ended. This was easily the best segment and moment of the entire show Friday night. AJ has obviously aged technically because we all do, but it is crazy how youthful she looked. I suppose skipping around and cut off top and Daisy Dukes, that helps because pretty much anyone's going to look young looking like that. This really felt like a moment. The only change I'd have made would be reducing the skipping around the ring stuff. Skip onto the stage, pause mid-ramp, rush the ring, and take out this woman. There should have been more hate in her eyes and, mannerisms, just given the way the storyline had transpired Monday right before she entered. But that's literally my only note. Actually, I have one more. Michael Cole way overdid it with AJ being crazy. I know that was her gimmick to a degree a decade ago. She's a 38-year-old woman now who did not show that at all in this segment. And as we learned Monday, she's going in the completely opposite direction. Becky was again excellent, incredible on the mic. Punk did a tremendous job setting up AJ's return because there was no way to ignore the chance in a situation like that by knocking off some of the pessimistically speculated names like Bayley and Ripley. He really raised the fever pitch in the building until AJ's music finally hit, and it hit hard. People were going insane for her. As I said last week, other than Sasha Banks, she was really the only woman who could return to WWE and get a response like that in 2025. It was also so cool seeing Punk standing there, arms folded, just proud of his wife and the reaction that she was getting in his hometown. Something smaller, I also wanted to point out, I loved how Rollins was completely unfazed in the crowd, despite a man in Punk entering the ring to confront his wife. It showed that he truly sees her as an equal. He's confident that she can handle herself, which is unlike the way most wrestlers would react, because they would run right to a woman's rescue immediately, particularly if it was their wife or girlfriend or on-screen romantic interest. But yeah, they knocked this out of the park. WWE production, AJ Lee, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, all of them. This was not as hot, quote unquote, as the segment that led into it on Raw, but this never would have happened without that. And while I'd have liked a promo from AJ here, I was really confident we would get it on Raw because there were still 4 shows left until WrestlePalooza.
I'm always going to remember where I was when AJ Lee returned, and that is sitting in a dark house with the power out and getting an alert on my phone from the Getting Over Wrestling Podcast Twitter account that AJ Lee had returned.
That's fine.
A storm came through Friday. Power went out right as Brock Lesnar showed up on SmackDown. And usually it was a quick storm, and usually stuff gets back up pretty quickly, but it ended up being several hours. And my phone service is not good enough in a storm to watch it all live. So that was very annoying. I didn't get to experience that in the moment, but nevertheless, it was obviously fantastic. Finn Balor no longer has the best abs in the industry, folks. That is going to AJ Lee.
He's got legit competition. Has she not touched a carb in a decade? Like, what is going on over there?
Yeah, so she looked amazing, obviously, and she felt like we'll get into this too with her promo on Monday, but everything about her feels like she just never left. Like, she's still like the exact same character in terms of her mannerisms and the way she kind of goes about herself and the skipping and all that stuff. The crowd, like, people are jumping up and down in the crowd when her music hits. That is the rare kind of return pop that you can get. Like you said, Sasha Banks, I don't even think there's that many people in all of wrestling currently who could come back to WWE and get that kind of pop.
I'll tell you what, Chris Jericho for nostalgia.
Yes.
John Moxley as Dean Ambrose. That
I guess, but Ambrose also doesn't have he doesn't have a recognizable theme where people are going to go, boom, oh my God, it's Ambrose. It'll be like a gradual type of thing.
When Edge comes back to retire, he'll get that.
Yeah, but we already got that with Edge a couple of times last couple of years. That was at a level like that was one of the ones, just like Punk, you never thought was going to happen. Because remember, they sent that letter or whatever it was to Punk.
Termination.
The termination letter on his wedding day when he was getting married to AJ Lee. Like that whole thing was an insult to both of them. And so this, when Punk come back, you always wondered if AJ would come back as well, but it never really made sense in AEW, I don't think. And so here we are. And this was a fantastic segment. To pull it back to the beginning, you mentioned Becky Lynch calling all the sports teams in Chicago bad. There was one team she didn't say.
Right.
And that was the Chicago Bears, who Rollins is a very public fan of. It is on NFL Network and doing things. Becky wore a Bears jacket or something in Green Bay not that long ago. So little thing I noticed there was it was a good like way to keep it all together and in character. And I'm sure for Seth, not upset the NFL people or something like that. So that was all really well done. Becky's face was fantastic when the music hits. Seth's face of like, what? How is this actually happening? Like not an oh my God face, but just like a how is this happening type of face. He was great. Whole thing worked out perfectly. Cole's point about the crazy. I was going to mention that later when we get into AJ's thing, but like, we probably don't want to say that anymore. It's a different time.
Yeah.
And if I was going to nitpick, the only thing I would have done differently, this is completely 100% nitpicky, is they set it up so much where he walks out of the ring and says, I have someone who will. I would have enjoyed if Becky's slapping him and he's like got a frowny face. And then it slowly morphs into a smile. And she goes, what are you smiling about? And then her music hits. Like that's a nitpick. I would have done it instead of just like, and here's AJ Lee. And there AJ Lee comes out basically. But this was awesome. Great to have AJ back. You know, husband and wife segments can be very hit and miss, and storylines too. You can kind of mess it up, but this was great.
Yeah, I think there's something to what you're saying. Punk smiling as she's like smacking the shit out of him. And like she says, what are you smiling about? Takes a step back. He takes one step out of the ring. Her music hits. And like people just go wild for it. So I understood why they did it that way. They really wanted to build it up. You know, it's about a moment for them, right? And he's talking it through. It also, you know, gave me the opportunity to do the drop that we did earlier with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I frankly thought was hysterical. So I'm glad. And it wasn't unique. Other people had the same idea. Don't get me wrong. But on the show, you know, I thought it was pretty fun. So, you know, they nailed it across the board. Like I want to clarify, and we're going to talk more about them a little bit later too. As great of a job as Punk and AJ are doing and will do and all that, the foils here, Seth and Becky, they are actually the stars of this show because this doesn't work without them. And the characters they're playing are different than the normal heel characters that we have gotten from them in WWE, both this year and in the past as well. And we'll get into more detail about that.
And different from other husband and wife combos like Miz and Maurice.
Vastly different. Yeah. It's not even close. And this is something we can, you know, circle back to that we previously talked about last week. Seth and Becky, the way they're working together now, the comfort level they have with one another, being in a relationship, having a child, you know, doing more public and on-screen appearances together over the years, it's night and day compared to what we got, whatever year that was. Was it 2019? The feud with Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, where Vince McMahon forced them together because he wanted to do that storyline and they did not want to do it. It works better as a heel couple, A. And B, they are just so much more comfortable in their own skin as a pair. It shines through the screen. And you look at this and you say, this is natural. It's not forced. And they're loving it. They're loving the shit out of the work they're doing on screen. All four of them. And that radiates through the television. That's the word I was looking for. Not shine. Radiates through the television. A couple other notes I had to throw out here. Naomi has got to be seething right now. She basically said she would never retire until AJ returned to WWE. AJ returns. She's out pregnant for, 9, 12 months, something like that. Also, this is not a one-off for AJ, just so everyone knows. She has reportedly signed a long-term deal. We saw her sign a contract with Paul Levesque before SmackDown, but they posted it after SmackDown. I see a singles match with Becky coming soon. We'll talk more about that in a bit. I gotta believe she's going to work with Roxanne Perez somehow, some way, sooner than later. And finally, AJ got a curtain call after SmackDown went off the air. She paraded around with Becky's title as she did that. So that lent immediate credence to the idea of them going one-on-one. And Chris, it also makes even more sense as to why Lynch retained this title over Lyra Valkyria.
Yes, on that last point. My brother texted me, they need to do a bit where we find out Roxanne Perez turns out to be CM Punk and AJ's long-lost child or something like that.
Problem is, I think AJ would know if she was ever pregnant. And
I think so.
It doesn't work that way,
She hit it, even though they weren't together, she hid it from him or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what they would do in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, he would have to have had a year-long not concussion. What's the word I'm looking for?
Never.
Be in a coma for a year, and then she would have had to have the kid adopted on the back end. That's something they would have done in the Attitude Era. You're right.
Never forget that Jason Jordan is still canonically Kurt Angle's son.
Yes.
So it's still out there.
Indeed.
I'm fascinated to see just how she works with, like we said earlier, a lot of the women who can really go now. Because, I mean, the thing with AJ, like, she's petite. And that was kind of always the thing. And you've got Rhea Ripley out there now and all these kinds of stuff. So I'm very curious how it all fits. She's also obviously, but it's been 10 years since she wrestled. So it's.
You also have Roxanne Perez and Alexa Bliss, and I mean, there's diminutive women in the company right now, and Kairi Sane is there. I mean, there's a lot of smaller women. So
just don't put her up against Ronda Rousey. That's all.
Let's not put her against Ronda Rousey. So let's move over to the continuation of this story on Raw. AJ Lee effectively opened hour 2 after an extremely effective video package that showed her entire past that aired earlier in the show. The response was immense. She skipped out, still holding the Intercontinental Championship. She got a welcome back chant when she got in the ring. AJ reintroduced herself, saying she's the fans' favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. She explained that she retired because she had achieved her dreams and reached her goals in the ring. She wanted to focus on achieving other dreams and going on a mental health journey. Fans not only cheered for that, which was sweet, then they chanted, "Therapy, therapy." AJ gave everyone confidence to seek help if they need it before saying she could stand seeing her husband battle it out with all these men, but not Becky Lynch. Lee expressed that she thought she had a lot in common with Lynch, but what she did to Punk was over the line. Bex walked out looking angry, wearing a pair of what must have been Seth's glasses at one point. Particularly pissed off that AJ was carrying her title. She used a bit of cheap heat to get the crowd red hot and even improv'd, quote, "I'm going to have to go to therapy after this," to which the crowd chanted it at her again. There was a great camera shot back to Becky, showing she had a huge shiner on her right eye from AJ, who rubbed salt in the wound, daring her to come get the title. Lynch called her a Jersey trash bag weirdo, asking where Punk is at, because strong men don't hide behind their wives. Out came Rollins, who was wearing the far worse choker chain, which again makes no sense with that emblem on it. The guy went away for it for months. Why is it back? AJ said that she'd give the title back if they did the mixed tag team match that we've all expected. Seth instead slowly made his way into the ring while sharing his position of dominance in the company, explaining that, to which AJ called him out for mansplaining. Then she played like Becky jumping in front of him every single time he tried to get the title, only for Becky to turn around and see Punk had bumped into her coming down the ramp. He came out without his music, by the way. He attempted an attack on Rollins. Rollins escaped go to sleep. That led to an acceptance of the match at WrestlePalooza and AJ throwing the title at Becky, which really was not my favorite thing. Don't throw the belts around. It makes us as fans think that they don't mean anything. So it sure seems, Chris, that these four can do no wrong right now. Okay, the fact that Rollins and Lynch are actually working as buffoon-like heels and not trying to be cool heels is putting this thing over the top. It's actually refreshing to get that in 2025. What stood out the most was AJ still being a complete natural on the mic. The way she can weave in and out of her promo, pausing to acknowledge fan chants, speak as an aside for a few seconds, then get right back to the meat of her subject with the greatest of ease. That is expert level shit. She had complete command of the crowd, as she always did back in the day, after, 1 to 2 minutes of nervousness. And the fact that she was this smooth, it really highlights how rough other women in wrestling are when faced with similar opportunities. AJ went out there, spoke from the heart with minimal scripting, and you bought into it because she was real. You believed what she said. Beyond that, the content of her promo, sharing the actual reasons that she left, past, Punk walking out and what you mentioned earlier, then kayfabing why she came back, it really hit. Then you move to Lynch, who is kicking major ass with this heel gimmick. While Big Time Bex was unfairly maligned as far as I was concerned, people protested it more because of the Bianca Belair stuff than they should have. Lynch is nevertheless far better as a heel this time around. You can tell she's fully engaged, committed to this character. It's almost assuredly her best character work since The Man. Tops of all is the men were completely secondary here. That's how you know women's wrestling is actually making progress, when the guys show up as the extras as opposed to the featured parties. Another home run, the best part of an excellent episode of Raw on Monday night. Raw last week, SmackDown, Raw this week. 3 of these 4 for one of those, and then all 4 for the other 2. Absolutely knocking it out of the park.
I think what I've liked about this AJ rollout so far is that they've really leaned into what she was. She's not just here as CM Punk's wife. And yes, on Friday, she jumped into his arms and kissed him, but like she didn't come down the ramp and kiss him and stand next to him, right?
Right.
She just did her skipping around the ring. She for the most part treated Punk like any other guy that she was teasing. And for people who don't remember her character back in the day, she was very much like teasing and using her people being into her to like get guys to do stuff for her, like John Cena and Daniel Bryan and all kinds of stuff. And so that is having her come out on her own to cut this promo without Punk behind her and stuff like that. They're very much staying true to the AJ character through all of that. And I really like that. And like you said, she is a natural on the mic. She was back then. That's why, more than anything else, that's what made her stand out.
Absolutely.
Because she was interesting and you didn't know what she was going to say or go about. She was a fantastic character. Them showing that vignette of AJ, like, it felt like something they just pulled out of like 2013. Like literally that may have been exactly cut in 2013, just the way it was like edited and everything, and then just added some stuff at the end of it. I wondered, like, it really reminded you how much of a different time that was, and how they shot things and how they portrayed women and stuff like that. So to then like see that compared to now with her promo was a very interesting setup. I really liked it. It was hilarious when she said Becky Lynch was motorboating CM Punk.
Yeah.
Hilarious line. And then, you know, Becky comes out, but remember, she makes the interruption, but it's the like slow crescendo of the guitar, which I criticized with the theme music. If it had just hit with the da-na-na-na-na-na, and that's when Becky comes out, it'd be more impactful than like the slow, the man comes around. I don't like the way that song starts, even though I love the song. Also, I enjoy Becky Lynch shouting out more and more media outlets. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, she mentioned. Support Becky supporting the local media.
I think she said Chicago Tribune too, or was it Sun Times? She said another one also.
She had said Sports Illustrated before. I thought she said a different one on Friday that I don't recall.
She said a Chicago one, I think, is what I'm saying.
I think that's right. Maybe she did say Chicago Tribune. I can't know for sure. But I'm enjoying that little bit. So thanks.
Hey, Becky, Getting Over Wrestling Podcast said this about you before Sports Illustrated, okay? It's not just them saying it. It's us saying that, too. So seeing AJ with the Intercontinental title around her waist, I fully believe that this should happen, as long as she can prove, obviously, that she can still wrestle in a couple of weeks. Yes. It looked great with her. Becky crashing out by dropping it to AJ, only to eventually take it back. That would be a real intriguing, like, medium-term storyline that would continue establishing the strap as something held by women who are like at the top of the company and had been historically. I also wanted to shout out Rollins for wearing Air Force One cowboy boots, which I had a problem with the, choker chain, but those boots were quite a look. And I wanted to mention what a crazy year this has been for Punk. He main evented WrestleMania in a 5-star match that he got to enter with Paul Heyman. He became a world champion again after an excellent match with Gunther. He feuds with John Cena one last time, gets to do the Punkonomics stuff. He gets his wife brought back to the company in his hometown. He's able to stand in the ring embracing her while a sold-out crowd chants for both of them. And now he gets to team with her against 2 of the other biggest stars in WWE on a debut show on ESPN. I would love to ask him later this year if 2025 made all the bullshit worth it in the end, because you got to imagine the answer would be yes.
Well, like we know he's a businessman too, and I'm sure he had these conversations when he was discussing coming back, like WWE being as hot as it is and all those things. Remember, he was a guy who questioned when they moved to the WWE network and the pay-per-view bonuses went away. He said, what does this going to mean for the payment of the wrestlers? They haven't given us an answer. And he said around WrestleMania that the pay structure has changed and stuff too, and that was part of him coming back. I watched last night, it just popped up on my YouTube algorithm, one of the CM Punk MJF promos 2021. And it's like weird to look back at his time in AEW now. And it feels like such a blip even though that was his big return and he did some great stuff with MJF and everything, just the way that all ended and that whole thing, it felt like just another crash out. But him coming back to WWE and what he's been doing, it feels like the CM Punk we remember from his time in WWE the first time around. Like he's got everything in this company that he wants that wasn't there when he left. He goes from WWE firing him on his wedding day to now WWE's bringing him and his wife back. Like that is a remarkable amount of growth for everybody involved, including Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a great setup. Also, by the way, Punk and AJ, I'd argue they looked the best they've ever looked in terms of physical wrestling ability. Both of them are way bigger and more muscular than they were their last time in WWE. Punk's arms are ginormous now, and AJ's a lot more muscular, you could tell as well. Like these two are killing it, and they're back shape. And they seem healthy. They look great. They're getting everything they want from the company. Like they're killing it.
By the way, they're also killing it personally. 2 income, no child household with 1 dog. They're kicking ass in their personal lives right now. Okay, they're doing absolutely great. You also mentioned something that made me think of one of my favorite Jay-Z lines. I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man. Let me handle my business. Damn. That's what CM Punk is doing. He's handling his business, and AJ Lee now is doing that as well. So just great great execution. This is, people, why do you watch WWE? This is why we watch WWE. That's what I can say for the 3 segments across the last 2 Raws and SmackDown, specifically involving AJ Lee, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch. Let's move to the second part of our main event. That's really the third part because we just covered a double dose of that foursome. John Cena opened his final SmackDown appearance with a tremendous extended ovation and thank you Cena chants, which is extra special in Chicago, obviously. He said he had no planned speech. He just wanted to have fun with the fans and enjoy the atmosphere. He gave Chicago credit for bringing people back to WWE, to which fans chanted AJ Lee. And he went over his history there, saying Chicago is inarguably the greatest crowd in WWE history. For an unplanned speech, he sure had plenty of concerted points to make. As Cena signed off, Sami Zayn's music hit, which interestingly came with boos at the jump, morphed into a serenade, and then went back to sustained boos. Sami thanked John on behalf of the SmackDown locker room. Then he thanked him personally for his debut in the US Open Challenge, asking for permission to carry on the tradition. Cena agreed and then started leaving before Zayn stopped him, saying he wanted to repay the favor from 10 years ago with a title shot right away. I'd call this a confusing crowd response for Zayn, but it's difficult to make that claim when we've been laying out the case as to why he's been booked so poorly over the last year. Plus, it's Chicago. They were all in with Cena for the first time in a long time, and they probably just wanted him to have his moment and exit getting cheered. As far as the US Open Challenge, well, Chris, I believe I had that. It makes a lot of sense for Zayn's character, getting him on TV, wrestling as a babyface with regularity. There's a decent amount of heels on the roster, and I'd love to see some folks in NXT get opportunities like Cena gave with Zayn and Kevin Owens. Of course, I'm not sure WWE anticipated this crowd response, but alas, it worked. The creative with Cena made a lot of sense. It was a cool way to bookend his SmackDown career, considering they couldn't have done anything with Kurt Angle or Owens, obviously neither of them available. Both probably would have been better options if either of them was active. All in all, a strong and super hot segment that was clearly kicking off what WWE booked as a major show.
Yeah, like Cena's got such an interesting history in Chicago. Like he laid out, like good and bad, if you want to call it. Like the loss to CM Punk at Money in the Bank, the debut, he won the WrestleMania there with CM Punk with the Tommy gun type of thing. Like that, it was really cool to kind of honor all that and also honor the U.S. title part of his history by bringing back the U.S. Open Challenge, which is the most notable thing the U.S. Championship has done in the last 10 years. We still talk about it
20
because of how good it was. That's why we talked about last week that it's something they should do. This was a natural way to lead into that. The only other thing I would have loved to have is a CM Punk, John Cena, just face to face in Chicago type of thing somewhere. Maybe you can't do that in front of the crowd, but even backstage. Like,
yeah,
man, remember the history you and I have had in Chicago? That's crazy. Just like one final like capper for Cena's final time in Chicago. But no, it was good.
I completely agree with that, but they did not want to show Punk until the final segment.
Yeah, but I mean, we knew he was there.
True, but they didn't want people chanting. Like, they chanted AJ Lee in the segment anyway, because Cena talked about bringing people back. But they did not want AJ Lee being chanted all show long. They really wanted to save Punk and her for the main event. And I think that's why they didn't do it, because otherwise you're correct. Cena and Punk in Chicago is a no-brainer interaction.
Also, John Cena say, "Hey, I've got some history with these mixed tag matches with your fiance, potential wife. Be careful."
True. All right, so let's move to the match itself. United States Championship, Sami Zayn defending against John Cena. After a couple viewable minutes without an ad break, Cena caught an Escalera Tornado DDT on his shoulders for an attitude adjustment false finish. He followed with a pop-up powerbomb for KO, but got avoided into the ring post. Cena then dodged a haluva kick, hit an angle slam that Cole called a back suplex. Come on, Cole. During an ad break, Cena countered haluva kick by catching Sami's leg, lifting him for a second AA false finish. Then, when WWE showed the replay immediately after coming back, they missed a live exploder suplex, but caught the haluva kick chaser for another false finish. Cena again countered Zayn onto his shoulders, but this time hit Go to Sleep as a CM Punk homage for another false finish. Cena then positioned himself in the corner, waving Zayn to his feet, and speared him just like Edge, who was alluded to but not mentioned. Cole then incorrectly said it was an homage to Roman Reigns, so Graves had to correct him, saying it was probably a Canadian. Fans chanted RKO, which Cena actually tried, though he failed. He got Zayn on his shoulders for an avalanche AA, but he was unable to cover due to exhaustion, allowing time for Brock Lesnar to mosey down to the ring, drag the referee out by his feet, hit Sami with an F5 like he was Kofi Kingston. Then he did the same for Cena. After standing around for, it felt like 5 minutes. It was 30 seconds. He had a second F5 on Cena, posed ringside, and then walked out. The match wound up a no contest without the referee making a declaration, even though all he did was get pulled out of the ring. He didn't take a move. He wasn't knocked out. Then, like 5 minutes later, after a full break, Lesnar walked through gorilla position saying, "See you at Wrestlepalooza, bitch." Graphic already made, like it was AEW. What else you got for me, Brock? Is the Ultimate Thrill Ride going to be his last ride? This was a match and segment that was booked to be incredible. But I gotta tell you, being honest as I always am, it fell short, really across the board. This SmackDown badly needed a commercial-free first hour because of the lengthy Cena opening. Those commercial breaks, even being picture-in-picture, seriously stunted our ability as viewers to simply watch the match. The super early false finish for me was an eye roll. And while you gotta respect all the homage moves, going one after another, doing the exact same thing against Logan Paul that you're now doing against Sami Zayn is something that takes you out of it being a serious affair. It was extremely heavy-handed as opposed to being natural. I missed that he did an ankle lock, so I should have mentioned that also. And I should note, the spear was better than Jey Uso's, apples to apples, but I digress. And then you had WWE's overall production of this match. Cole was horrendous. Botching the angle slam, then shouting out Reigns when it was clearly an Edge reference was terrible. He had other mistakes too. This may have been a bottom 5 match call of his entire career, which is stunning to me. A major match sequence happening during a commercial break and then going full screen with the replay, missing live action, completely unacceptable. Lesnar at the end was the most predictable moment of the entire year, not just because we knew he was going to be on the show. It was also boring. 3 F5s and didn't provide a shred of reasoning or motivation for what is likely going to be a main event match happening in 2 weeks. Plus, if we're doing homages and shit, retrospectives for Cena, shouldn't this have been a Suplex City moment, if anything? Or is Lesnar not taking bumps in this return? So yeah, I feel like I laid it out decently well. This was booked in a way that it could have been and should have been outstanding. But as a viewer, way too much went wrong. This was a 2-run home run that was instead a ground rule double. I have less interest in Cena and Lesnar than I did Cena and Paul. That's saying something, and I think fans actually agree too.
Yeah, I mean, I think God agrees too, since he knocked my power out right when Brock Lesnar showed up on my screen. So I had to go back and watch this like well after the fact to kind of get the whole thing.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the match. Like, yeah, the commercials and some of the stuff was annoying, and yeah, Cole missing the calls was that. But like, I guess I wasn't totally listening because I was too invested in kind of what I'm seeing. You know, like sometimes when I'm watching TV and I'm really into a football game, I like block out the commentary sometimes.
Mhm.
The match was awesome. I love all the homages. I love that Cena's breaking all of this stuff out. I love that he tries the RKO and doesn't get it. That's going to be fun when he does. It's like they're like these last two matches have been laid out. Three really have been laid out so well for Cena. And on the Cole part, I don't understand if there's just not a communication that he knows it's coming. Like there's no like, hey, by the way, I'm going to do a spear for.
But even if he
Edge
doesn't,
and
he
this
should
and
know
that.
what an Olympic angle slam looks like.
Right. That's what I'm confused about. Like to not, while Cena's going through all these other moves, to not put it together, to not like, hey, these are important things I'm hitting in my match. Like, heads up, this is coming. Like that is normally how a lot of some of that stuff works. So anyway, but when Brock comes out and when I watched it on replay, just everything was just deflated. And the crowd, like you pop for the Brock music when it hits, but crowd reaction was not that great. And there was like a kind of booing that didn't necessarily feel like booing because he's the bad guy.
It was go away booing. Yeah, go away.
It was booing that like we kind of don't want to have to deal with Brock Lesnar, which we've talked about on the show. I hate it. I don't need it. I don't want to see it. I hate that it's taking up some of John Cena's time, limited time. Dreading this for WrestlePalooza.
Mm-hmm.
A damper on what otherwise I thought was an awesome match between Cena and Sammy that will presumably set up Sammy to continue the U.S. Open Challenge. So I liked it until the end.
The Lesnar reaction, it's indifference. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Brock. Oh, yeah, Brock.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Fans don't want him. WWE made a mistake bringing him back. Not simply because of, the stuff in the, Vince McMahon lawsuit, the civil, suit, but he was not needed whatsoever in 2025. No. I cannot believe, by the way.
Who's going to watch WrestlePalooza for Brock? Who isn't already watching for Cena and Punk and AJ Lee and like all this stuff? I don't get
there
it.
Might be a casual component of the ESPN audience that sees him on the graphic and goes, oh, I should click that, but they're not going to subscribe for it. They're just going to see that, oh, this is a graphic on the app. Oh, Lesnar and Cena? I'll watch that. Like, so viewership might be, good, but it's not going to get people to sign up for it or anything or go out of their way on a college football Saturday to watch that, not in 2025. The fact that they signed this guy to another deal, apparently, like for multiple matches and appearances, instead of just a one-time shit with Cena just to do it for whatever misguided reason they have. I don't understand this at all. I mean, I was confounded by the Rusev signing. I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks, I kind of understand why they brought Rusev back. He's starting to hit a little bit.
Yeah, but Rusev is a drop in the bucket.
No, of course. Of course. But I'm saying I didn't understand that. This, I really don't understand at all.
It's what we talked about, which is like just kind of like finger in the eye of your viewers and thinking now that you can kind of get away with anything. Many of these things, but they're like, all right, no, like things are going well. We can do this. I don't see the benefit. It's just like we just think about Vince McMahon when we see him. And that's not, yes, Brock was not accused in the lawsuit. He's not charged with anything, but like, why? You're so hot right now. I don't see the upside to it. That doesn't also bring in all the questions of like, oh yeah, Brock's named in that lawsuit. It's kind of weird.
But
it
even
just felt
outside,
like
outside of that, because that is an inherent issue with this that we've already discussed on the podcast. Even if we put that aside, which we don't want to because it matters, but even if we do, creatively on television, like the part that we're analyzing in this segment on this show, like Lesnar made the end of SummerSlam worse. It was a crazy moment that he showed up for sure, no question. But it would have been far better for Cody Rhodes to stand there as the champion, getting his pyro, being put over by Cena, and being in the ring by himself, christened again as the WWE champion. And this, again on SmackDown, was made worse because of Lesnar's involvement. It's just a simple fact of what we're seeing in front of our eyes. The fact that Cena is now going to have to be involved in 1 to 2 more segments plus a match with Lesnar is making his final retirement run worse because he could have been doing this against someone else instead. So every single actual usage of Lesnar, forgetting about how problematic it is that he was brought back, it's making the product worse as well. That is why I don't understand it on any level.
It's ads on, it's overloaded ads on the ring. It's a Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. It's very much alike.
Yeah.
We're just kind of going to do what we want to do now.
That's what it feels like. I forgot to give a match grade. This was 4 stars and A-. Like, it should have been a full A if it had a finish and if it wasn't like homage spam throughout the entire match. And also if commentary was better and production was better. Again, it's annoying to me that this was the way Cena's final SmackDown appearance ended. It just really shouldn't have gone that way. And that was super frustrating. Now, Chris, look, we got a ton more still to discuss from the world of WWE this week. Everything that we have not already talked about from Raw and SmackDown, that's going to be covered right now in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy. Say hello to the back. Don't sing it. Bring it.
Forgot to mention this earlier at the tail end of the show. We'll do a brief overview of the WWE Wrestlepalooza card as it now stands. And I'll also just break down quickly the WWE AAA Worlds Collide 2, I guess, card, which is actually happening this coming Friday, immediately after SmackDown. So there's going to be a special show there. I don't think we're going to do any type of instant analysis around it. Almost certainly not because of how busy both Vintage and I are at this time of year, but we will work that into what's actually going to be the ultimate preview for WWE Wrestlepalooza next Tuesday, right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. So in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly, Raw opened with Jey Uso beginning his entrance before Jimmy joined him in the crowd, yeeting. Encore as well in the ring. The Vision immediately interrupted with Braun Breaker regressing promo-wise. Crowd was really hot for Roman Reigns, who of course wasn't there. Jimmy joined, saying that they were like PB, and J security, which really deserved a better reaction because it was kind of a good line. The Usos got like 75% back into their promo rhythm before Jimmy informed they got a tag team match set against the Vision for Wrestlepalooza. It seemed like the idea was to get started fighting then, but when Bronson Reed denied, LA Knight attacked from behind. The three faces ultimately stood tall, despite Jay getting squashed in the corner by Reed. That led to some consternation between he and LA as the segment ended. So I don't really have heavy criticism here, and I know a lot of you are going to disagree with this take kicking off the segment, but I'm grading this a bad. Neither side landed their promos. There was not much content within them, and it felt like there was a huge missed opportunity to take a couple minutes at the start of the show and reestablish the Usos. Have them do a brotherly moment in the ring together, explaining why they're back together and tight as a unit. And really, this should have been saved as a tag team feud until after the Brawns get strapped up. It's great that these guys are all teaming. It feels like it's happening outside the tag team division, which doesn't exactly help rebuild the tag team division. I suppose they can always come back to it after the fact. So yeah, I'm not mad at it. Fans loved it. Jimmy was pretty decent. He laps Jay on the mic, always has. But this is actually a bad for me.
It's not a bad for me at all. It's a good, not amazing, but it was good. I had wondered, if they were going to come out, were they going to come out to Down Since Day One-ish, or were they going to come out to Jay's song? Mm-hmm. They came out to Jay's song. That is the one that the fans now know, I guess, because of the yeeting and the crowd stuff. But the original Uso song is the better song. And I went back and watched their WrestleMania 39 entrance when they had lost the tag team belts about that. And watching that and then seeing them back together now, they both looked so much more confident back being by each other's side. Mm-hmm. Like Jay had become a good promo and could do that whole thing in the ring, but he's just different when Jimmy's there with him. And I loved how confident they were. Maybe overconfident, but they are had the longest reign in WWE tag team history. They are one of the probably 5 greatest tag teams of all time. They should feel confident that they're back together and they're going to be able to beat anybody they want, which is maybe the point. They may be overconfident, but I do agree with you that that commentary and everything else should have built them up as a bigger deal. Like, it has been several years since they were together. And it also goes back to the issue of, like, we never really got the moments of Jey reuniting with everybody as like a big moment. We didn't get the Roman comes to Jey's defense to save him. They hug, the crowd cheers. We didn't quite get that. And we didn't really get it last week either. They kind of did it with Jimmy coming in for the save, but it didn't like fully hit. And so I'm sure we will get it before the match, a vignette of telling us the Usos' history and all that stuff, because that is needed. And I'm sure we'll get it. I thought it was good. LA Knight coming in makes sense. It set up the show. It set up a storyline for the show. So I like that.
Just to clarify, they main evented WrestleMania 2 years ago, not several years ago. I know it feels like that, especially the way things are going these days.
Well,
but
no,
it's only 2 years.
We just said 41.
They were main event of 39 night one 2 years ago.
2.5.
2.5 years ago. It's not several. Okay, it's less than a few and way less than several. Is all I'm trying to say.
It's more than a couple.
In terms of the song that you're referring to, just so everyone knows.
Uso! Down six. Day one is down six. Day one is we been down six. Day one is line them all up, knock them down like this. Oh yeah, Ayus. Let's welcome these folks to the Uso Penitentiary.
I mean, I could play the whole thing because it is a great song. And there's a difference. So this is a CFO song, and Jay's, which I think is called Main Event-ish, is a Def Rebel remix with Jey doing his stuff over the general beat of it.
The problem is you can't be doing it's just me, Oos, when it's not just you.
When it's two of you. Right, exactly. Although they are twins, but sure, yes, you're correct that you can't do that. All right, we got a lot more to talk about, even just from this storyline, let alone the rest of Raw and SmackDown. Knight argued with Adam Pearce backstage, revealing he wanted to fight one of the Brawns. Didn't care if it was one of the Vision, LeBron, Brawny, or Charles Bronson. He also remained angry at Jey, thinking he left him open to get squashed on purpose. Jimmy later stopped Jey from leaving the arena, saying they had a play to run against the Vision, considering they were still there for the LA match. Jey was still pissed at Knight, saying he had no desire to help him and would not let that slide because it wouldn't help them. Instead, Jey said they should be focused on themselves, getting acknowledged, or else they'd smash them. Jimmy properly pointed out that Jey started to sound like Roman saying that. Jey shot back, quote, "Maybe sounding like myself ain't working." And then he left. Jimmy later confirmed with LA that the deal with Jey earlier was indeed an incident. He said he'd get Knights back against the Vision, but LA was uninterested, reminding how Jey and Jimmy have cost him titles in the recent past. He said he would go at it alone. This, for me, was much, much, much better. Lots of intrigue with Jey's growing ego, not only because he's starting to feel himself, but he's doing so in a conceited way. Having Jimmy point out immediately the way Jey sounded, that was important, because just making a face or letting that pass without mentioning Roman, that would have been super weak, especially because you may remember Jimmy did something similar around SummerSlam 2023. And don't forget, Reigns is the one who told Uso just a couple weeks ago to be more selfish. This fits perfectly. Plus, Knight's promo was night and day compared to the opening segment. The dude is on absolute fire. I would love to see Reed try to take the shoes of a champion off that guy. Yeah. This was good.
Definitely good. LNet was on fire here. I just want to fight a Braun. I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to take a piece of them with me. That is the energy and the intensity if you want to say wins and losses don't matter sometimes, that's the message you want to deliver. And for him to say it in the way say it the way he did made a lot of sense. The Jimmy Jey stuff was great. And we get the opening where they're both like really confident and maybe overconfident. Then in the next segment, we kind of start to, maybe they're not actually totally on the same page here. Mm-hmm. So again, they started telling a story throughout the show. I like that.
So I know that you gave the first segment a good, but do you agree that all of this backstage was superior?
Yes.
All right, cool. So we had Knight against Reed in the main event. The heels obviously used the 2-on-1 as much as they could. Knight hit a jawbreaker, tossed Reed into the timekeeper's area before doing a running jump from the announce table to the barricade onto Reed, a little bit convoluted. Knight hit the jump up back elbow inside, but after Breaker distracted, Reed caught him with Jagged Edge, his Death Valley driver, for the win. Jimmy saved the 2-on-1 attack only to get hit with a flip over spear. Jey was the second save to a massive pop. He also got speared by Breaker following an initial flurry. The heels set up Jey for a tsunami, but LA saved him with a steel chair, even throwing it at Breaker for a real nasty glancing blow. He ensured Jey was good afterward in the corner, asking, literally, we good? Then he lifted Jimmy, dapped him up, only for Jey to spear him blind, yelling, we good now. Fans were none too happy with that. This was the first of two matches on Raw, actually the second, of two matches on Raw that ended with brief distractions followed by signature moves as opposed to finishers. While I did not mind that for the next match where it happened, we're going to discuss that later in the show, and I wish more matches ended with signatures or unique moves as opposed to finishers. Here, I really did not love Knight getting beaten with a Death Valley driver when Reed easily could have hopped to the top rope, hit a tsunami as a quick follow-up. That would have actually protected LA more than the alternative. The post-match felt extremely paint by numbers until we got the surprise Jey spear, which generated an awesome reaction from the crowd. They knew they had to boo Jey, but they really didn't want to. That creates far more interest in this upcoming match. Also, the Usos reunion and Jey's individual role than just going with a standard tag team match and pushing Knight to the sideline for 3 weeks until after that show ends. Seems like this may be used as a way for the Vision to win at WrestlePalooza, with Jey needing to feud with LA as a means of finding himself on the back end. More interesting booking than, frankly, his entire title chase and run. So after a rough start overall, in my opinion, to this story on Monday, 2 straight goods to close it out.
It was good. It was a great natural conclusion to the pieces they laid again throughout the show. Sometimes we get an episode of Raw or SmackDown, it's just stuff happening. The best episodes are the ones where a story develops throughout the show. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened here. And it ultimately, like, you booed Jey, but you also understood what he was going through to do that. That is good character work. And doing it after LA kind of daps up Jimmy to make it clear that Jimmy is cool with him and then Jey is not. And so now we thought the Usos were back together, the greatest tag team of all time. Like, look how cocky they are. No, actually, they've still got a lot to work through themselves, and they are not on the same page. So I thought that's all intriguing and interesting and good.
And it wasn't just the men that had a show long story, but the women as well. The fact that we can get 2 of those on Raw and not think twice about it is just incredible. So we had Io Sky, who learned from Pierce that her contract signing with Stephanie Vaquer was canceled because Vaquer was not able to make it to Raw. Frankly, I didn't even realize the signing was scheduled. However, Pierce clarified their match is still on for WrestlePalooza. Nikki Bella again came through, putting Io over, when the Kabuki Warriors interrupted, with Asuka telling her to stay away. Nikki said Asuka doesn't have to like her, but she will respect her. Music to my ears was Asuka laughing in her face, promising to beat the respect out of her. Kairi Sane then started apologizing to Io when Asuka, of course, called her away. Here is my question. What the hell is going on with the Women's World Championship right now? Because absolutely nothing is going as planned.
What is going on?
It's like the curse of the women's tag team titles has somehow been transferred over to this strap through witchcraft or something. Hopefully, this was just a travel issue or a personal schedule conflict, and Stephanie can be back on TV to build the match on the Go Home show next week. But now we're getting 1 week build for this match. The way Vaquer has not been used regularly on TV for the last few months has been so confusing, even with Naomi's pregnancy situation. I understood they were keeping her off TV for a couple of weeks because they were doing the Naomi storyline. They wanted that to wrap up. Then they were going to bring Vaquer back and do a month-long build for their match. I understand that was the original plan. But when that ended, Vaquer should have been on television. It's one thing for her to be waiting for Naomi, but it doesn't make sense why Vaquer has not been in front of a live audience in 6 weeks. It may even be longer than that. Why have there not been vignettes for her? I cannot fathom at this point WWE strapping up Vaquer as the champion when she hasn't been on television, let alone in the ring with any regularity. I'm seriously into the overall story arc with Io and Asuka. The way Asuka growls Kairi's name sends me every single time she does it. But before we talk about the match and other stuff that happened on the show, I just wanted to get this part, Chris, of the conversation out of the way, because this is the oddest build to a title match that they've had plenty of time to build, despite the fact that it didn't go as planned.
Yeah, I mean, you laid it out. I don't know what the heck is going on. It's bizarre, and maybe there's something behind the scenes that is making this difficult week to week, but we don't know. So I can't say anything other than this is just extremely strange and disappointing.
It is. So we had Nikki against Asuka, loud duel chants for both women throughout, which was particularly great for Asuka. Nikki avoided a flying senton deep into the match, hit a kick off the ropes that she missed at Clash in Paris. Bella avoided Asuka lock, then countered it into a pinning combination before hitting an Alabama slam. Asuka came back with the Empress Impact kick and her classic Asuka lock for the tap out submission victory. Not a match I expected to see. Ironically, a match I'd not only be willing, but happy to watch again. This exceeded every expectation I could have mustered going into it. Nikki mostly hung with one of the best women's wrestlers ever, and Asuka was booked super strong, not only winning without interference, a bit surprising, but tapping out Nikki cold, making it even better. We didn't get the stupid hip attack, either as the finish or even a move in the match. Empress Impact and the classic Asuka lock are a far, far better combination for her. Not even the stupid armbar variation she did. This was the real Asuka. It was probably like a B- match, but again, for something thrown on television with zero expectations, this was an absolute, undoubted good.
Ah! Yes! I love that!
Yeah, good match, proper finish, good finish. It set up something afterward as well. Like you bring Nikki Bella back, this is kind of what for. To help elevate other people's storylines, to kind of slide here and there. You're not going to go on a title run. That's okay. It's good use of everything. Asuka looked great. This was good across the board.
Just so everyone knows, I love the Montez Ford sound drop. That is my extreme good sound drop. I didn't mean to necessarily play that here. My point was Asuka doing the Asuka lock, the Empress Impact, getting away from the rear view-esque move.
But I want you to know this. I prayed for this and it happened.
That was the setup I was trying to get you to. I prayed for this Asuka to be back on WWE TV, and I absolutely love that we're seeing it. Asuka taunted Nikki later backstage, saying Io would do the same thing to Vicaire at WrestlePalooza. Bella challenged for round 2 with Asuka getting in her face, so Nikki shoved her, and Rhea Ripley appeared to even the sides. Asuka said she's the top woman in WWE. Rhea countered it's actually Io, who has been champion and is challenging for the championship now. Kairi again got called away in the same manner. It's really odd to me that WWE is not putting Ripley in front of crowds. I'm not trying to compare her to Stone Cold Steve Austin, but when her music hits, the reaction's pretty similar. Can you imagine Austin only doing backstage segments for the better part of a month, including when WWE was in front of sold-out crowds overseas? It just wouldn't happen. But I like the segment, both because Nikki feels like an integrated part of the division and because Asuka's oozing with confidence that we simply have not seen from her in years. Asuka, not Io, was the centerpiece on Monday, and I was more than fine with that. Another good.
Yeah, I'm loving everything Asuka's doing right now. This is the most interesting she's been in a long time. Like, you don't have to have her cut long promos. You just have to have her cut promos in interesting character. And that's what she's doing here. Your point on Rhea, yeah, I mean, we've said it before, like, so much backstage with her. Maybe it's because you can fit stuff. Not everything has to be backstage. I'm glad when Triple H took over, they went to a lot more backstage, which they hadn't for a while. Mm-hmm. But then we have felt for a bit, or at least I have, that they're doing too much backstage in certain moments where the crowd wants to hear Rhea Ripley's music and cheer her. And I don't know if she had a dark match or not. But, give that to them or find out a way to do it.
Yeah, no question. This is good for you as well. Back to back.
Yes.
Tiffany Stratton was booked against Jade Cargill for SmackDown next week. Tiffy backstage in what might have been, frankly, her best look ever.
It look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
Said all of Jade's bragging will end next week when her foot won't be found on the ropes, but up the eye of the storm, referring to her asshole. Cargill was angry watching the promo backstage.
Thank you for that clarification.
Well, hey, how often do I get to say asshole here on the show? What was I saying? Cargill was like angry watching the promo backstage. Nia Jax came in talking her own shit, saying Jade got lucky in their match. Jay told her off and stood tall in the end. This was actually fine both ways. It was one of Stratton's better promos. No critiques other than the consistent lack of time for the division. This is the most they've gotten outside of when Lynch was there in Ireland, probably since SummerSlam, like a minute and a half backstage as opposed to 20 seconds. I was confused as to why this is happening on TV and not WrestlePalooza, but at the end of the day, the build is not deserving of WrestlePalooza. Light good, mostly for Stratton speaking well, and because it is the best of what we've gotten from them over the last month.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a good. It was fine. I mean, there's not much to this, and there hasn't been for a while. To the point on Tiffany Stratton looking good, I mean this seriously. We say it all the time. Like when they wear street clothes,
Yeah.
It shines a lot of just physical parts of you. Drew McIntyre when he's in jeans without a shirt, stuff like that. She looked great, and it was good. It was fine segment. It was whatever.
So you're saying for you, Drew McIntyre without a shirt on?
I was up all night.
Just clarifying. That's all.
Not me personally, but I acknowledge and respect it.
We do acknowledge and respect.
Acknowledge.
Big acknowledgement right there.
Acknowledge.
Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, speaking of, got a dual promo package. Orton said McIntyre should be smart enough to shut his mouth, knowing what he's capable of doing. McIntyre said Orton is mad that he failed to pull the trigger when it counts and that he's not the future of WWE like McIntyre. This was well produced. It was also a bit corny. Luckily, they did not respond to one another, but simply had solo promos spliced together. The match was set for TV next week. Also confusing. Why isn't this at WrestlePalooza? I don't even know if it's gradable. If it is, like good.
Yeah, I mean, WrestlePalooza's already got like a pretty loaded card. I don't know how much we're putting on. It feels
dude,
like everything.
After Raw, now this was on SmackDown, but after Raw, it has 4 matches right now. So
yeah, but all 4 of them feel like big deals.
They are.
I figured you throw 2 more on there. At the moment, I was thinking like, is this going to be like a WrestleMania card?
But you're not going to put Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre.
Well,
that's a big match.
I had thought we were going to, but since it seems we're not going to, then it pulls that back a little bit. This was fine. I just was so distracted by the freaking Twisted Tea bright yellow square in the corner of my screen.
Yeah.
It's just killing me. It was hard to like focus and pay attention to what they were saying. And it was very weird the way it was edited together, because it closes by saying Drew R. McIntyre O. I was like, is that like a joke? Like, am I supposed to? I guffawed at that. Like, it was extremely funny, and I didn't know if it was supposed to be. It was very weirdly put together at the end.
It's like one of those big billboards where they get the alignment of the words wrong, and you read it horizontally because that's how things get read, but it's written vertically. It was similar to that, and I agree with you. I remember that at the end, I was like, that was weird. Like, I understood what they were trying to do. They were trying to splice together, like, so their words fit and it created a theme for the overall promo, but they did it with their names. That's not how you do that.
Well, no, they did one name and another's initials and McIntyre
right.
has too many syllables in his name for it to fit.
But even if you did Drew, Randy, McIntyre, Orton, like, it still wouldn't have worked.
That's fine. That's a lot better than Drew R. McIntyre.
It would have been better. Okay. Fair enough. Lyra Valkyria fought Raquel Rodriguez. Great reaction for Lyra at her entrance and during the match. Unfortunately, Raquel's music came during commercial break. Rodriguez bent Valkyria backwards around the ring post, pulling on her ponytail and legs. Then she hit 2 corkscrew elbow drops, worked the back for a while, even using a heavily modified crab. Lyra answered with a tornado DDT. Raquel came back basically with a rope-assisted jackhammer. She should use that going forward. Valkyria then took Rodriguez off the ropes with a double rotation sunset flip powerbomb, which I've never seen before. Super inventive the way they executed that. Roxanne Perez distracted as Lyra's back simultaneously gave out a little bit, attempting to lift Raquel. They were a bit slow to get into a pinning combination, which thankfully was not the fall, even if it would have worked had it been more fluid. Lyra went for her flying leg drop. Raquel pulled her off the ropes by her leg directly into a Tejana bomb for the relatively clean win. This is the type of women's wrestling that needs to be on TV every week and not just on Raw. high-quality match between two talented women, both of whom got over further in the end, despite the heel beating the babyface. Raquel particularly acquitted herself well. Lyra was the perfect playing partner, selling a bevy of fresh offense that truly rounded out Rodriguez as a performer. The clash of styles made for something probably more fun than going Lyra Roxy right away. That match is going to happen next week. Outside of that one slow spot, this was a straight up
Banger.
4 stars A-, nearly a bit higher than that. And again, a paradigm of what this division should be doing on both shows, given the immense talent up and down the rosters. Super easy, good.
Good match. I'm glad Lyra got the reaction she did. I kept thinking like she was just killing it in that feud with Becky, both on the mic and in the ring. And I didn't love kind of going several weeks without seeing her. So I'm glad the crowd reacted to her. Don't want her, like, she comes out of that Becky feud still hot. Like, don't cool her down too much. And then you put her in this and she loses. And that is unfortunate. But the finish was so cool that like it didn't like impact Lyra's standing to me. Right. Like that was just really well done. She's a big, powerful person. Lyra's smaller and she got caught and beat with a power move. It happens. Like people can beat each other and it's not the end of the world. So I really enjoyed this. And like you said, it's the kind of thing we need more of.
That's exactly right. People lose matches, teams lose games through happenstance, through just one perfect pass or, you know, one perfect hit or whatever the case might be. And this was Raquel executing a counter perfectly into her finisher and getting the win. Yeah, Roxy distracted a little bit too, and that protected Lyra, but there was nothing wrong with Rodriguez winning, and I would have been okay if she won without the distraction. It was not necessary, but it did, you know, protect Valkyria a little bit. Bayley got a fresh video package saying Lyra was the last person she wanted to hurt because even though she's hurt people in the past, they've mostly deserved it. Bayley hoped Lyra could find a way to forgive her, even if she can't forgive herself. The role model and hugger then played devil and angel, arguing over whether to move on or make it right with Lyra. Bayley ultimately decided to make it right. Out of the 4 or 5 of these segments, this was the first one to take on a different visual. It was more direct and like in your face with what they were trying to do. And therefore it was less compelling than the others, but it was still good for me. As I've said before, WWE really needs to land the execution of this gimmick. And it seems like we're going to find out within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, not much more other than what we've said before, which is like it's going well. It's good. It's been set up well. So when we get the action, then we'll adjust our feelings on it. But to this point, it's been good.
Charlotte Flair was faking crying on a training table when Alexa Bliss and Lily came in playing doctor, saying they'll get revenge on Green Regime when the time is right and she's healthy. Bliss left Lily with her. And by the way, I don't think we've ever seen Charlie again. They introduced Charlie. I assumed they were going to make, you know, dolls out of it and sell it, but it's now off TV. Why would you go so far to do that and then not show it? This was the entire segment. It was one of many quick bits during SmackDown because of how much was booked that required significant TV time. I didn't personally find it funny at all. Slightly cute. It's odd that Charlotte is working an injury when Piper Niven seems to be the one who's unavailable. This is definitely something that's been shelved. I don't know if this was supposed to be on WrestlePalooza or it was going to be a SmackDown title match. I'm not totally sure. I'm also not positive this is gradable because it was so short. But like I said, it was cute.
Yeah, it looked like they were in like a pediatrician's office.
It did.
Like I was like, that's what the doctor's office looked like when I was a kid. So I guess points for that attention to detail, but the whole thing just felt extremely random.
So we had AJ Styles against El Grande Americano. Styles cut a commercial break promo saying for the first time in his career, no one is watching his back and he's being actively held down, prevented from winning in WWE. He shouted out Gallows and Anderson. He also shouted out Michin, saying he would let the fans draw their own conclusions. Then he said, quote, "I'm telling you something you're not supposed to hear. Somebody doesn't want me here," unquote. This was extremely intriguing, given a lot of stuff that was floating around this week about Styles, coupled with our frustrations from last week's show about Styles not winning in Paris. It makes you wonder whether this was planned or WWE figured out a way to take a negative and spin it into something positive. Smart to do this during a break in the US, with AJ basically figuring he could get away with it in kayfabe when not live in America. He has badly needed a storyline to sink his teeth into. And it feels, Chris, like this might be one.
They also put it up on YouTube, which they don't always do with those things, and it has like more than 300,000 views. So like, it worked what they were doing. What could it be? I have frankly no idea. So I'm interested. You know, it's something. We'll see.
I'm curious about it. And it kind of takes away a little bit of the work shoot aspect if they're just putting it on YouTube when they don't normally put all their commercial break segments on YouTube and they don't censor it. Like if they put it on YouTube and bleeped out Gallows and Anderson or something like that, I might be able to buy it. I also thought it was weird.
They did not, by the way. Those names were in there.
Yeah, right. I was just saying if had they done that. You know, maybe because this is the Styles retirement run on the back of Cena. You know, right now I think he's just signed until February 2026. I assume they will at least extend him through WrestleMania and allow him to retire there and not do a 2-month retirement on the back end of Cena. That really wouldn't make a lot of sense. But maybe this is like a prelude to Gallows and Anderson coming back just for AJ so that the three friends can be together, you know, for the final salvo, the closing salvo. But I really don't know. I also thought it was weird he didn't mention Omos. He mentioned everyone else that's had his back, but not Omos, who's still employed by WWE, just like Michin.
But that was brief. I mean, Michin and Gallows Anderson, they are still technically, I think, the club.
I want to say that Omos was longer than Michin.
But she was in the group with them. Omos was just AJ and Omos.
That's
Omos
true.
Was not
she was in the club. That is true. That is different. No question about that. So anyway, getting on to the match. Styles aggressively attacked Americano before the bell, continued bludgeoning him afterward. Alto Americano prevented him from hitting phenomenal forearm, with Grande ricocheting AJ knees first over the steel steps. Styles countered a DDT into a corner exploder, adding a big-time rack bomb, but Americano answered with an Escalera flying blockbuster, which looked great. Alto again distracted during Styles' clash, but Dragon Lee saved with a Hurricanrana off the apron. Styles then completely countered and ultimately reversed the Styles clash for the 1-2-3 to a massive, and I mean massive, ovation. Dragon shook his hand afterward, and AJ later backstage thanked him for his help. This was an excellent match. Perfect booking, too. Beyond Styles getting a necessary win on the back end of losing last week, the prelude to this match with his promo, seeming proof of his conspiracy theory with the interference, and then WWE again featuring Dragon in a key spot to continue building him as a legitimate, worthy, notable competitor. All of that was important. It obviously would have been better if Styles was already strapped up here, but beggars can't be choosers. 2 notes. 1, this was Americano's first pinfall loss. I really wish that was mentioned by commentary because it was notable and important. 2,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, even though what Styles said was off TV for the American audience. I'm not sure why they had him say no one has my back, only for someone random to get his back minutes later. Maybe Dragon heard him say it backstage and was like, oh, he's a babyface, I should help him. And also, I hate El Grande Americano. So it fits together. But I just thought it was odd for him to say that and then literally minutes later have someone get his back. 3.75 stars, B+, easy good.
It was good. We've kind of sort of dropped the gimmick of like El Grande Americano is this legend and all this stuff. I'm a little concerned the magic and kind of attention to detail of the gimmick is going away because Chad Gable's out or whatever. Now we have multiples, and we're kind of just like accepting that there's multiples now.
What are you talking about with Chad Gable? What does Chad Gable have anything to do with this?
I would like a mystery here. I would like an ongoing story, like backstage of like, why are there multiple Grandes Americanos?
Sure.
Like
that's
it's just
interesting.
kind of like,
yeah,
they're just kind of like saying it during the match, like, well, there's a second one. This is a huge concern and question that is changing Intercontinental Championship matches. Like, we need to get to the bottom of this. Adam Pearce, what are you doing?
So now you're coming around. Now you get it. Finally. I mean, what the hell?
But like AJ, like, again, if you don't want to do the corny stuff, fine. But AJ was kind of doing that funny stuff with Dominic. You could have easily transitioned that into him trying to discover the secret of why there's multiple Americanos. And we're just
maybe now he will, because they're obviously feuding. You know, they're hating each other.
And I was wondering if American crowds would try to pick up the phenomenal chant because they have picked up other crowds from Europe, but did not happen. Too bad.
Yeah, I think the issue is the language because it's not English. So, you know,
you could literally just do phenomenal and just all the only words I hear are phenomenal and la 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 la. Like it's more difficult than Roman Reigns, but I'm surprised there was like no real attempt to even
Look,
kind of figure it out.
we're Americans, so we can say this. You think an American crowds can figure out French and chant in a chant for a guy? Come on.
No, they say all we hear is phenomenal. I'm just saying the phenomenal.
No, there's other
part of
words
this thing.
too, but that's what
but
pops.
that's not the part anybody knows. Everybody knows phenomenal. Even just yelling phenomenal. I thought they might try that. It didn't happen.
No, they're not. They're not doing that for him. But again, super entertaining here, start to finish, real quality match. And I'm curious about Americano. I'm very curious about what's happening with Styles. And I'm thrilled that Dragon is actually getting run, coming off of a couple great appearances, matches, and responses in Europe. They got to stay with this momentum for him because he has not had any momentum in like a year at this point. I also forgot to mention, Americano had a new entrance theme here. And if you told me that Def Rebel entered a bunch of like key terms into an AI prompt and generated this, I'd completely believe you. It wasn't terrible, but it was eons worse than the mariachi version of Stars and Stripes Forever, which was absolutely perfect for this character. So why are you not leaving well enough alone? That I simply will never understand.
Dude, not cool.
Judgment Day later commiserated backstage with Finn Balor throwing shade that Dominic Mysterio was spending more time with Americano than with them. Dom said it was a lucha thing and they wouldn't understand, and he wouldn't have needed help if they didn't get banned from ringside last week. Roxanne then went off to talk it through with him. I think many people, including WWE Creative, have forgotten that Dom was the genesis of the Americano character. It makes sense that they're paired together, but it's odd how WWE is not using that as part of the story to explain their relationship. I did this for you, now you need to do this for me. Mysterio also got a commercial break promo on the show. I'll mention that later. I'm only giving this a light good. It's hardly enough to even grade. Raw has been great the last 2 weeks, but I do miss the Judgment Day Clubhouse being a more lively place.
You know, every once in a while we wonder if kind of Judgment Day is going to kind of fade out. We're kind of back in one of those spots. It probably won't, but they've had their lulls.
New Day and Grayson Waller got a commercial break promo in the crowd, calling themselves Morning Waller, Morning Kingston, and Morning Woods.
I was up all night.
This was mostly local Cheap Heat, sticking with the gimmick of trying to get the Mexican Destroyer banned. Penta backstage thanked War Raiders for getting his back before putting an arm around Pierce, asking why Pierce doesn't love Penta like the fans do. He called Mysterio pendejo, demanding a title shot so he can become champion with Cero Miedo. Rusev interrupted that conversation, saying Pierce needs to follow his plan and not deal with clowns. That led to Penta getting in his face. Speaking Spanish, I didn't understand. So Pierce appeared to effectively make what I thought was a number one contendership. This was the best usage of Penta in a personality role that we've seen in weeks or months, and the best usage of Rusev since he's come back to WWE. For some reason, Penta putting his arm around Pierce and asking why you don't love Penta the way he did popped the shit out of me. Almost acting as if he was like a normal dude wearing a suit, not all dressed up in that makeup, acting like an insane clown luchador. This was definitely good.
That was the best part right there.
Yeah.
Like it was just and be like, I don't know, like Penta. Like that was such a like authentic, like it felt real.
Right.
Like it felt like you could see that happening. And I thought it was very funny. It fit the character. That was hilarious. And it was good.
So we had Penta against Rusev. After taking most of the offense early, Penta avoided Rusev into the steel steps. New Day and Waller distracted, but got taken out by Penta, who hit Rusev with a code red that was accidentally called the Destroyer. An additional distraction from Woods gave just enough time for Rusev to recover and catch Penta flying at him with a massive Machka kick. He landed it perfectly, and he got it as the 1-2-3. This simultaneously frustrated with Penta not getting a singles win, as it impressed me with Rusev getting another significant victory in understandable fashion. The match needed more time to really hit another gear, but the flashes we got from these two, it showed they could have a hell of a match together if given the opportunity. Good.
Yeah, definitely good. Glad Rusev's still getting it, man, because he's been killing it. Penta is fine. Penta can take losses and it will not impact him at all. So I enjoyed this. Glad Rusev got a win. Hey, we didn't get something all too crazy. Good stuff.
The jettisoning of the War Raiders early in the show with New Day and Waller costing Penta later in the show it appears to open the door back up for Rey Fenix and Andrade to get his back as we initially expected. That would be fine had the faces, Penta and the Raiders, lost the 6-man match last week. This is why it made no sense for them to win, right?
Right.
So we'll have to see what transpires here. But I mentioned earlier there were 2 matches on the show that had distractions leading to wins with signatures. This was the other one, and I loved it in this spot. It was perfect. I just don't want someone who's a main event caliber guy like Knight losing to a Death Valley driver when he could lose to a Tsunami and be protected even more. So we had Damian Priest against Aleister Black set for SmackDown. The build started with Black on video saying the industry has filled him with decades of hate that he wants to take out on Priest. While Priest follows the rules, he's willing to break them when necessary. Surprisingly, Priest did not get a promo as well. Black attacked him during his entrance before the bell, knocking him over the barricade. Officials tried to get Priest not to wrestle. He insisted, even while hobbled. Black quickly got into an octopus hold, adding a flying Meteora soon after. Black escaped Razor's Edge and South of Heaven, hitting a pump knee. Priest did the old school crossbody and half a flightliner into the ring apron. Then Black took Razor's Edge into the announce table. Black grabbed the referee by the shirt as Priest tried to lift him for South of Heaven, shoved the referee into Priest, using that as a distraction to hit Black Mass and get the win. So I had no problem with Priest not getting squashed here, especially considering he's a big, tough guy and he's a former world champion. But it did feel like he lasted way too long and took Black way too far, given the bell rang with the dude nearly out on his feet. The idea of a pre-match attack was to protect Priest in defeat. But WWE went way too far by trying to protect him in the match and in the finish. It was just too much. Point being, Black should have gained something by winning this match. Ultimately, he didn't. For that reason, I'm going bad, even if the match itself was perfectly fine.
I'm going to say light good because it ultimately got us to a conclusion, a little iffy, but like a clean conclusion. Or a clean result, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved the pin here. It wasn't like Black just lays on him on his back and it's 1, 2, 3, and he doesn't immediately roll off. Like he just sits there for a minute, gathering his breath. And it tells me, one, he's exhausted from this fight, that Priest still pushed him to the limit. And 2, that the kick is so powerful that Priest is still just laying there. And I thought both of those were just like 2 little things that tell a lot about a move in a match in wrestling. It's just like a little bit of storytelling that I really appreciated, that I came out of this liking it more than I thought I would, because I have not cared about this at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that both of them put a good effort in.
Fair enough. United States Championship was on the line. Julia defending against Mi Chin. Kiana James was dressed a bit better here in that she wasn't wearing lingerie. Julia hit a hanging neckbreaker onto the floor after 75 seconds of action before a break. They exchanged German suplexes. Julia avoided Eat Defeat and hit a fireman's carry driver. After Mi Chin answered with a Liger Bomb, James got on the apron and wound up with her head draped between the ropes. So Mi Chin quickly took her out. That allowed Julia to run at her with an Arrivederci knee for the win. Kiana briefly attacked with her purse after the bell and then just stopped. So Julia's finisher either got changed or she was not meant to win with a finisher, which is fair given it's Mi Chin. But there was no heat whatsoever in this match. Fans have been given no reason to care about either of them, which for Mi Chin is unfortunate, but for Julia is unforgivable, given she was getting a positive reaction when she debuted, only to completely fall off due to not being featured on TV or booked in matches, and now getting saddled with Kiana James. Making it worse is Julia does not need help to beat Mi Chin. She never should have help. This is not how you book a talent like Julia. If you want Kiana to be out there as the Paul Heyman, okay. Paul Heyman didn't help Brock Lesnar win. I hate to say this because it's trite, but Julia has completely lost the aura that she brought over from NXT. They got under 8 minutes, which is fine for a match length. Half of it, though, was during commercial. I'd love to take a positive tilt on this because the match was technically fine, but WWE storytelling and their inability to book Julia properly makes this simply bad. And as we have been saying for weeks, the SmackDown Women's Division creative right now, it is absolute trash.
This is for crap!
This right here is bullshit.
It's a mess. Your point about Julia, she's lost the aura, not only from the Kiana James stuff, but just kind of the weird stop and start that was going on for a little bit there too. Sometimes it feels like they just have too much going on and they can't fit everything in, or they just kind of speed run through some stuff and you miss a lot of the details. Kiana James is not adding anything for Julia here that we don't need. I really don't think it's necessary. And an interference finish when we just get so many of those on TV these days, very frustrating. It's a bad.
Yeah, Michin is literally the bottom woman on the roster, and you're using a distraction to beat her. Why?
Think about what we just said about Lyra and Raquel. No interference.
Well,
just a good match with a great finish.
Let me just clarify. And there was a distraction at the end of that match. It wasn't.
Well, yes, but I mean, it wasn't like like getting your hands on like that type of stuff. Like,
right.
You come out of it where just like, all right, Raquel won because she took advantage of a move there and turned it on her in a wrestling move.
Correct.
And it looked great, and it just happened. And Lyra's fine. Like, you can just have generally clean stuff. Same thing with Priest, Aleister Black. Like, yes, the referee pull, I get it, but that's being strategic as opposed to just like completely like getting involved in the match.
Yeah, it is. What's your grade for this? I'm curious.
Bad.
That is one big pile of shit.
I just had my finger on the trigger, so I wanted to make sure I could play it. Aldis backstage was so busy, he tried to push off Carmelo Hayes, who was asking for an opportunity against Sammy. The Miz obviously jumped in, saying they together wanted an opportunity for the tag team championships. I'll remind you, they lost a number one contendership. Okay. But now they want an opportunity for the tag team titles. Mello Don't Miz then argued, and that was about it. Given the Cena segment took the first 45 minutes of SmackDown, not having more time for them on the show was perfectly acceptable on this particular episode. The fact that they still got a quick backstage bit to reference the infighting and continue the storytelling, that was actually a positive. So no grade or anything like that. But I did want to shout them out for like ensuring they got on the show, even if they didn't actually have a major segment.
Agree on all points.
All right, so that wraps up the good, the bad, and the ugly quickly. I just wanted to go over the WWE Wrestlepalooza card with about a week and a half still to build it, and then the WWE AAA Worlds Collide 2 preview, which will go super fast. In terms of Wrestlepalooza, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, which I have to imagine is the main event. CM Punk and AJ Lee against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Massive mixed tag team match. Women's World Championship, Io Sky against Stephanie Vaquer for the vacant title, we believe. I mean, they said it's going to happen, and I don't see why it would not. And then the Usos against the Vision. That's the card right now. Could they theoretically bring Cody Rhodes back and have him defend the title against Drew McIntyre coming out of the McIntyre-Randy Orton match on SmackDown? Definitely possible. It would be a little strange to have an 8-day build for a WWE Championship match on this show. I'm not saying they can't do it, just saying it would be weird.
And Cody will be there. Triple H did say on McAfee today, talking about Wrestlepalooza, that Cody Rhodes is going to be at Wrestlepalooza. So
okay, I mean,
maybe in just some sort of segment of.
They could also. I was going to say they could do a segment with McIntyre or whomever on that show. So there's other ways to do it, but that is there. The women's WWE Women's Championship is happening on SmackDown, so that's not going to be on the card. We already mentioned Orton and McIntyre is not going to be on the card. Neither tag team title is in a storyline right now where it would make sense to put it on the card. The Women's Intercontinental Championship is held by Becky, so that's not going to be there. The U.S. title isn't. You could possibly get into a Sami Zayn title match. I could see that happening. Dominic Mysterio, maybe, but again, he has Worlds Collide first this Friday, so it's a 4-match card. If you're saying that this is your first, ESPN show and you want to make a big deal out of it, these 4 matches are solid, but you got to have 6 at a minimum. You may need to have 7. And I don't know where they're coming from right now.
And this show is just at the normal basketball arena too. It's not a stadium show either. So
I forget what it's called. The Field House? It's TD Field House?
I think it's Gainbridge Field House. It'll always be Conseco Field House to me. But it's I mean, again, I don't know how long they want these shows to go, especially on ESPN. They're not going to do like a 4-hour show.
No, but you got to think you're going to put your best foot forward on the first show, and to not have either world title, defended on the show.
That's what surprises me. Even the Orton McIntyre stuff, some of the stuff that's instead being put around does surprise me because, like I said, I thought it was going to look like a Mania card. I'm like, well, I guess they're going all out for ESPN, but that's really ratcheted back.
You know what I'm thinking they can book? I'm just thinking about it. I mean, it'd be a third tag team match, but they could do Rhea Ripley and Nikki Bella against the Kabuki Warriors on the show.
Yeah.
Because then you get Rhea and Nikki.
It suddenly becomes a bit of a letdown show in terms of your first ESPN one. Like it's good. The top couple of matches are good, but it fell off pretty quickly. So I don't know. I guess we'll talk about this sometime next week, I guess, but I don't yet know how I need to figure out how I'm going to watch the show.
Me too.
With it being on ESPN and me not having YouTube TV, which is not part of the ESPN thing so far. So if you look in to make sure you can get this, or if you'll need to find another way to watch the show.
Yeah. I hope that next Tuesday here on the podcast, we can offer ability for you to watch WWE Wrestlepalooza if you would otherwise struggle watching it. A couple different options, including one that does not require any money whatsoever, but is really just a way of working the system. So we'll get into details about ESPN and how to watch it. It's possible they sign one or more of those carriage agreements that they need to renew between now and then. Anything is possible. But we will talk about that next week on the WWE Wrestlepalooza Ultimate Preview, Tuesday, right here in the same spot. And then, of course, we're going to do our best Saturday when the show goes off the air, a WWE Wrestlepalooza instant analysis. I was not planning to do that because I was going to go to that Florida-Miami game. It does feel like things have changed, and I may be able to execute it depending where Vintage is, depending how our timing works out. A lot is up in the air, is the point.
I will be at Auburn, Oklahoma. I just found out, and that's a midday game. So
okay, when are you heading back? When are you traveling back?
It's a 2.5 hour drive home, and I got home at 4 a.m. last time. So
I thought it was like a flight hotel situation.
No, going to be a tough pull. We'll see.
Okay, so yeah, a lot is up in the air in terms of the Wrestlepalooza instant analysis and the AEW All Out instant analysis. Next week's going to be weird here. And we've been really good on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, hitting you up as soon as shows end, especially major shows. There may be some hiccups, and we'll do the best we can to bring you as much performance-enhancing audio to your ear holes as we possibly can. Real quick, the WWE AAA Worlds Collide 2 preview. It does seem like a fun card with multiple direct bookings coming off AAA Mania. The AAA Mega Championship, Hijo del Vikingo against Dominic Mysterio. Dom got a commercial break promo on Raw, mostly to promote the match. The crowd alternated between boos and singing his name. It wasn't much of anything. I do believe Dom is going to walk out with the title here. Tag Team Championship, Psycho Clown and Pagano against New Day. There's been no build to this whatsoever. I assume Clown and Pagano retain. Maybe someone costs New Day, and that factors into it. Fabi Apache against Natalia, number one contendership, still advertised as Natalia, not Natty. Still Natalia on the graphic, not Natty. I don't understand why they're doing this. Lola Vice and Mr. Iguana against Roxanne Perez and Finn Balor. This should be a lot of fun. Coming off the AAA Mania match, I have Perez and Balor winning. Latin American Championship, Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Dragon Lee, JD McDonough, and Ethan Page in a fatal four-way. No build to this. Kind of odd to see Dragon immediately drop down from challenging for the Mega title to challenging for the Latin American title. Wagner just won. I can't imagine he drops it, so he retains. There's going to be an 8-man Lucha showcase involving LWO, Lince Dorado, and La Parca, plus other people. Penta is making a special appearance, and I found it particularly strange that El Grande Americano is not booked for the show as of right now. So that is the Worlds Collide preview, Chris. I don't know if you have anything to say, but I'll open the floor. Do you have any thoughts or predictions or opinions about this show?
No, other than just as I saw the promo, I wondered how AAA fans feel about WWE wrestlers basically taking over half the cards now.
Yeah.
Do they like that? Do they not? I don't know, but I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I don't mind that for this card because it's Worlds Collide. Like that's the idea behind it.
It's true.
But for AAA Mania, there were a lot of matches where it was just like, okay, you want to infuse some WWE talent, that's okay. But you also need to have, lucha matches where like you're exposing what that product is going to be to the WWE fans who are watching it. And I didn't think they missed on AAA Mania because they did some of that. There just should have been more of that. So I almost wish, as part of Worlds Collide, there was like a featured match with just AAA talent. That way you could say to the fans, this is what the product offers. Now go ahead and watch it on your own. So I also think the whole Worlds Collide, doing a second show called Worlds Collide in the same year, like, what are we doing? Just do one of those a year, come up with other names. If you want to do a situation where people fight each other from these two promotions, or let's say brands, come up with a secondary name and you do two of them a year, not two of them in a 4-month span. It seems like a lot. So, all right.
These worlds are colliding way too much. Someone needs to look into that.
They do. Someone needs to call George Costanza because he fully understands what that's about. All right, Chris, look, that wraps up this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We covered, as we always do, an absolute ton in the world of WWE, and we will be back on Thursday to talk all things NXT and AEW. A reminder that Worlds Collide show is happening on Friday, so we will almost certainly, barring something unforeseen, cover that next Tuesday right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast within our WWE Wrestlepalooza Ultimate Preview. But we will also have the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling coming out of both SmackDown on Friday and Worlds Collide later on Friday after those shows go off the air. In terms of how you can access that,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month and $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get that bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, along with exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Don't forget to follow us on social media everywhere at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can also send in questions and comments for the show. We will do our best to read them on the air. Didn't have a chance to do that today. I promise we will be in the future. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube for full-length audio episodes, full-length video interviews across all three at Getting Overcast. Lastly, I need to remind you on the way out,
It's all about Divide.
so head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Thanks to Vintage Chris Vanini for joining. Thanks to all of you for listening. For Vintage, this is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.